Welcome to another episode of OG55. The OG crew is on location. Today we are doing a Disney chit chat. There's no real topics today. We're going to dive into Mission Breakout first. We're going to discuss that and let the conversation flow wherever it may go. Up next on OG55. Welcome aboard, everybody, to a very special edition of OG55 for the very first time ever in OG55 history. We got OG, the Italiano, and Mr. Webba all in the same room recording a video for all of y'all. Today, we're talking all about Disney, but there's no real topic today. We're actually going to have a really fluid, just kind of natural conversation about Disney. Wherever this takes us is where we're going to let it go. Before we dive into that, Italiano, where can everybody find you on social media?
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You can also find me on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base on Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
There we go. And this chair keeps making me sink. It's driving me crazy. Mr. Webba. Mr. Webba, where can everybody find you on social media, sir?
Absolutely. So glad to be here, OG. You can find me on social media on Twitter or X, Mr. Webba at Webslinger760, and then on Threads and Instagram, Mr. Webba at Cobweb91. You can also find me on OG55.
Boom. All right, everybody. Let's dive in. So these two guys right here, I go to bed early. I'm a 9:30 p.m. kind of guy, right? I'm a 9:30 p.m. kind of guy. So I was hitting the sack, but I wasn't like fully asleep yet. But George and Eva were having like a really cool conversation actually about Disney, the parks, and all that good stuff. And I'm like, you know what? This is actually a great conversation to have on the channel. So we're going to kind of take that and kind of bring it here for all of you all at home. So George, you guys were talking about Mission Breakout. You asked Eva, how long do you think Mission Breakout is going to stay Guardians? Mm-hmm. Right, which I think is an interesting topic because right now we don't know the fate of Hollywoodland. Right. We don't know if Breakout is going to be Breakout. It will be bordering some other land, right? We don't know. Yeah. Would Disney change the theme? In your opinion, do you think the Guardians theme is not long on this planet?
So for me personally, what actually made me even ask about that question, we were talking about like the different like wait times and everything. And he had mentioned that with Guardians, it's up to like a 90-minute wait. I was there at the park. It was at a 150-minute wait. It's now actually beating Radiator Springs Racers, and nothing can beat Racers like up to this point. So while we were talking about it, that's when I was like to Ebba, it's like, despite of how popular Mission Breakout is, how much longer do you think it would stay Guardians?
Yeah,
like keep the ride system, you keep the building like how they did with Tower of Terror. But me personally, I think it's going to be around for a while. Yeah. And Ebba actually had a good point. I'll leave that for him to say because that was actually his point. But I think honestly, it's still popular. It's still good. Guardians is still relevant. Guardians is actually my favorite of all of MCU, to be honest. They just have like a different flow, and it just fits well with the comic of how the ride system is and everything. So yeah, I think honestly it's going to stick around for a while.
Yeah, I think it's going to stick around for a while. I don't think whatever they do with Hollywoodland is necessarily going to impact anything from Mission Breakout and beyond. Avengers Campus is still very, very new. If they get rid of Mission Breakout, you lower the ride count significantly for that land. And they're at this point in time right now, they're trying to bolster that ride count for the land because we all know Avengers Campus or Avengers Hallway, as our friend Bricky says, is very weak. So to add 2 more attractions and then to remove one would be, I think, not great. Right. So yeah, I think it'll stay. And here's the other thing too. Even if Guardians as a franchise isn't relevant anymore, it doesn't really matter because the attraction is still very popular. We have a water show at Universal, Water World. The movie is a notorious Hollywood flop. That movie did horrible at the box office, but yet, you know what? It's one of the more popular water shows or stunt shows in theme park history. It's a fantastic show, one of the best, you know, and it's still very popular despite the fact that nobody under 40 knows what that movie was, right? So yeah, I think we're fine. I really do. I think the attraction itself is very popular. I don't feel like the theme is at risk at all. And really, what could it even be rethemed to? If they turn Hollywoodland into Pandora, I think that's a weird ride system for Pandora. So I don't see that happening. And yeah.
Do you think like in time, if that was to still stay part of Avengers Campus, do you think that they may retheme it to another Marvel IP?
Well, I wouldn't. That's interesting. Yeah. Because you know what? It's funny because Spider-Man would be I think Spider-Man actually would be overall probably a better Marvel character to use with that ride system because, and I said it, you can check it out. Like years ago, I said this. You can utilize Spider-Man to sort of like, he's trying to save us from our elevator crashing down. So the up and down motion is Spider-Man using his webs, Spidey right here, using his webs to kind of keep your elevator up. Right. And as he's trying to struggle with your elevator, it's pulling it up and pushing it down. So Spider-Man as a franchise would work really well. I just don't see that happening because we already have web slingers. But speaking of web slingers and speaking of Spider-Man, what say you, Webba?
Yeah, so no, I agree with you guys. Me and George were talking. Actually, George, on our last trip to Disney, when we're at DCA, I was able to snag us a lightning lane, but it wasn't until like a last minute thing because it was so crowded. And Guardians was like 150-minute wait or something. And the lightning lane was pushed all the way out till like 9 p.m. or something like that. And at one point it sold out. I was able to finally get us one, like within, like I kept checking and we finally got one.
And we literally closed the park out of that ride.
We literally closed the park on that one. And so my whole idea with like, okay, is a franchise relevant for like a park or whatnot? Here's the thing. I'm a big proponent of the execution, right? I mean, look at Indiana Jones. That ride is still so popular. Oh. Great theming, great story. You know, popular character, yes, but the last two movies haven't done really well, especially with like the audiences and fandom. However, that being said, the attraction is still fantastic. People still flock to that attraction. And you know why? Because it was executed great. You know, with the Guardians, I love Guardians. Rocket is also my favorite character, which is like he's kind of like the main star in that ride. But let's say, you know, because right now we don't exactly know what's going to happen to the Guardians right now, right? There's a new, like, you know, James Gunn left off on 3 with like a new kind of Guardian scenes, right? But even if they move on from the Guardians, that ride is still an amazing attraction. 6 different type of ride, you know, movements with the songs. It's just a fun ride overall, and people love it. And even now, what's weird, I was telling George, was like, yeah, it's always been popular, like, you know, 60 minutes, 70 minutes, but now it's been bumped up to over cars now, you know, like 130, 140 minutes. It's crazy. I don't know what the kind of demand this ride is getting and why it is, but it's getting it. And I think with that, Disney is no way going to close this ride anytime soon.
I agree with you. It's going to stay Guardians 100%. Even though the fate of the Hollywood backlot and Hollywood studio area is unknown, I think Guardians is safe. The big question mark with Hollywood Land is whether Hollywood Land is even going to be a thing, right? We don't know if it's going to be Pandora. It's possible. It might be half and half. You know, the area where Monsters Inc., the busload loop, and that whole little back end might be Pandora, and then the Hollywood Land proper might be Marvel expansion, right? Or it could just be all Pandora or whatever. So we just don't know yet, and it's a big question mark. But I think Guardians is safe with the theme that we currently have.
Well, so. I do. Sorry, George, real quick. I do have a theme though. You brought up Spider-Man for for Guardians, right? Or Tower of Terror. Well, they're doing that in the China park, right?
Yep.
You know, so you can do that or do a different type of story within that same type of ride system. And then if you put Spider-Man over there, I would happily be glad to get out of the toaster oven, okay?
Thank you. Yes.
And either put something else in there that fits more of that type of shooter element.
Ant-Man. Ant-Man Nano Battle that they have, I think, over in Hong Kong. Even though that's a little bit more like of a shooter ride, like Buzz Lightyear would have you, but they can maybe upgrade it to where it's like a sensory kind of thing.
Yeah, because Ant-Man still has a lot of technology within the films, right? So like you can utilize like the shrinking and the growing and the different type of shooter lasers and stuff like that. I think that'd be pretty cool, you know, or demolish the entire ride and give us a better ride system overall.
Yeah, Web Slingers is a real. I'm sorry, Ebba too. I mean, I know, I know that hits kind of close to home, Mr. Webber. But yeah, Web Slingers was really a miss for Disney. I mean, I think it's I don't know. For me, I've always said this. I think Spider-Man, you have to like each ride system needs to fit the theme, right? So for example, Indiana Jones Adventure. The ride system was custom built for Indiana Jones, right? It makes sense. They're Jeeps. You took basically Tony Baxter and the Imagineers brilliantly took the theme of Indiana Jones, and then they figured out, okay, how do we create a ride system around this IP? And that's how we got the Jeeps. What I feel like they did with Spider-Man is like something happened here with Web Slingers where it's like you have this character and this franchise where you have like Spider-Man, for example, he web slings. He goes from building to building. He's quick. He's young. He's fast, right? The vehicles don't match the IP. It's weird. I picture like Universal did it right with their Spider-Man attraction. That's how you should move through a Spider-Man ride. Quick and fast and going through the, you know, each scene. With Web Slingers, you go through these clunky toasters. Most of the time they're like jerking around. They're not even smooth. It doesn't feel like a Spider-Man thing at all. I mean, honestly, that would have been a better Hulk ride because Hulk is a bulky dude, you know what I'm saying? And then I could see these big green toaster things chugging along through these show scenes. Hulk would have made more sense. It doesn't work for Spider-Man, you know?
And my problem too is that in Spider-Man for the attraction, there's no villain. We're shooting at stupid spider bots. Like, who cares about spider bots? I want to fight, you know, Doc Ock. I want to fight Green Goblin, you know. I want to fight these other big, you know, Spider-Man villains, and we're out here just stopping spider bots. You know, like to me, it's not very heroic.
We're basically fighting Toys R Us product.
Toys R Us.
Yeah, exactly.
But I actually wanted to ask you both too, because again, this was also part of the conversation Evan and I were having last night, is because he did mention, he brought up Indiana Jones as an example, like, of how a popular IP is now with Indiana Jones going down for refurb on March 17th, and there's no opening date. And then also Mission Breakout's going to go down. So you have two very popular attractions in both parks that are going to go down. Now, of course, obviously all these rides eventually have to go down for refurb at some point, you know, but I mean, and of course it's also to the fact of with the 70th anniversary, we're trying to get everything spruced up and everything. But for people who may not know about this, and then they go to the park for these popular attractions, they have two of them down around the same time. It can kind of get a little bit, juggle.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, these are two very popular rides down at the same time, so that's obviously not good for guests. And when does Indiana Jones go down? March
17th.
And Breakout
is I think it was the beginning of March.
And here's the interesting thing too. I was talking to our friend, Mr. Theme Park Wizard, and I was asking Wizard because I actually found out about this Mission Breakout refurb via Wizard initially, right? And I asked Wizard, is there any permit or any indication that they're going to work on the exterior of Mission Breakout? Because I feel like the exterior needs a lot of work. It has a really cool paint job and everything like that, but it's fading, right? I really think they need to like fix that. I think it doesn't look that great right now. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like this refurb includes the outside. I think it's the outside. I feel like the outside needs even more.
Well, hold on a second, OG. I agree. However, I think the elevator shafts need big work because the last few times I've gone, it's always one elevator shaft is down. Now, here's the thing. This ride has four shafts on top and bottom, right? So when you go there and like one or two are down, it backs up the line so much. So at that end, there's a capacity issue because mechanically your ride keeps breaking down on one of these things. Okay,
that's fair. And I don't go, honestly, I'm not a huge thrill guy. I don't go on Breakout very often. I don't even go on rides very often, to be honest with you. I just walk around and fucking eat. That's all I do at Disney basically these days, you know? So I'm glad you brought that up though, because if these shafts are not operating to their full potential, then yeah, they need to handle that for sure. And yeah, I just wish the outside though would get a little TLC. I just feel like we haven't got a paint job, I don't think, since it opened in 2017. and it's looking a little worn out, I think, on the outside. And actually, I gotta be honest though, on a side note, the outside actually has grown on me. For some reason, I don't know why. When I first saw it, I was like, oh, this thing is freaking hideous. I don't know, maybe because I'm just used to it now. I kind of like it.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
I'm thinking now once they add the 2 other attractions to expand the land, I think it would probably fit more aesthetically maybe in that area. Well, I guess we'll see how the 2 other buildings look once they add them in, right?
Right.
And maybe some stores and stuff. So we'll see how it looks. But in the concept art, it seemed to fit that kind of Avengers aesthetic, so to speak.
But how is that going to look walking through the Hollywood land side if that eventually becomes Pandora?
Okay, and see, that's my problem. Like, you're walking down Buena Vista Street, turn around, oh, look, we're in Pandora now. Like, where's the transition, and how is that transition work going into Avengers Campus?
Right, and that's the problem that we have right now, because we're dealing with we don't have a lot of information.
Right.
Not only do we not have a lot of information as to where it's going in the park, we don't even have information on what films this land will be based on, because we were told at D23 Pandora is going to be based on the next 2 or 3 movies.
Yeah.
We barely know anything about Fire and Ash, the next one, let alone the 2 after that. So how do we even guess or guesstimate really with what this land is going to be or how it's going to connect to anything without knowing some of these thematic elements within the movies? Because like I said before, there could be connections to this park that would make sense in these upcoming films, but we won't know that.
Right.
And, and that's the problem. And there might not be. I mean, honestly, there might not be. But, it's just hard to guess when we're like, we don't even know really. We haven't even seen the movies that they're based on yet.
Right. And that's why I think, thinking in my head, right, Zootopia fits in that Hollywood area because at least it has a more urban setting to where when you go from there to Avengers Campus, the transition I think is still kind of sloppy, really, because it's right there. But going from urban to urban is still thematically kind of makes sense.
I think Zootopia is a strong choice for Hollywood Land. And I agree with you, Webba. I wish they would have taken the Zootopia route for Hollywood Land. You could have transformed that. Look, the entryway to DCA used to be hideous. We had that postcard, weird outlet mall vibe when you walked in with all the neon and garbage, right? They stripped those buildings down to the steel structures, and we got Buena Vista Street. The Buena Vista Street buildings are literally the same buildings as what were there when the park opened. Look, what a difference a retheme makes when you really do it right, right? Yeah. So you could take Hollywood Land and you could strip those buildings down and you could make a dope Zootopia. We've seen them do it with Buena Vista Street, but they're not going to do that. They haven't even announced Zootopia. So they're not going to, there's no way that's going to be a thing.
And they have currently right now Nick and Judy meeting at Hollywood Land because the Turning Red characters are taking up their meet and greet spot because of Lunar New Year. But I got to tell you, Nick and Judy look much better in that environment, even already with its just being Hollywood Land.
Right.
It's not even Zootopia, but they fit aesthetically in where Nick was pushing his little cart with the pawsicles down the street, and Judy was like looking like as if she's like ready to cross the street in her cop uniform. Like it just fit well in the Hollywood Land. So I don't know if did they just place them there because of the Lunar New Year with Turning Red? Is that a little hint of trying to see do they fit? Because we always say here on the channel that like Disney, a coincidence is not a coincidence.
It's not a coincidence. I think Zootopia will eventually land at DCA. I do think those characters have been placed via meet and greet at DCA for years now, and with very much with a lot of success, right? So I think Zootopia is earmarked for DCA eventually. It's just a matter of where it's going to go. So is it going to go Hollywood Land? I don't know. Or is it going to go maybe Simba Lot, right? Yeah. I think that's really kind of what we're seeing here. And here we have the second movie coming out, Zootopia 2. So that might give us a little bit of an idea, like maybe because we know that Disney probably doesn't want to go the same route with Zootopia out here in California with the cop stuff. Okay. I mean, I know that they're cops. I think Nick became a cop at the end, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, probably not the whole prison jail thing.
Exactly. The whole jail cell thing and all that. I just don't think that would really go over too well with the current environment out here, especially out here in California. So I think that the second movie, whatever that's kind of based on, might be more of the direction for these attractions or for Zootopia at DCA. But it's interesting. Now, George, you brought up an interesting point with Zootopia because of the part 2. We were at D23 and they're leaning into this bayou thing.
Yeah, like a bayou
Swampy.
kind of swamp marsh. I think it was like a marsh market, I believe is what they're calling it in the movie. And for some reason, I'm thinking, could that possibly go into the Stitch parking lot?
No, is that possibly?
That it could go into the Stitch parking lot just right off of Bayou Country because it fits aesthetically with, you know, Tiana's, and then you still got like the critters of the animals. And so, I mean, I could see them kind of maybe going that route. My only thing is if they go that route is just because they never really heavily invested the Zootopia characters into Disneyland Park already.
Right. So pretty much, sorry to cut you off. So pretty much that would be the Disneyland extension.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. That would be like right off of Bayou Country. It leads into the Stitch parking lot, and then behind Stitch is Lilo. So essentially, that's where the Disneyland expansion park for Disneyland Forward would be.
Yeah, no, that's a cool idea, and I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I think that, like you were saying, George, because they have been kind of beta testing Zootopia at DCA for so long. Plus, I think Zootopia just feels more like a DCA kind of property. It kind of feels, actually, to be quite honest with you, Zootopia always felt like a Pixar movie to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? It's in the same vein of like a Monsters Inc. Like they take our world and they turn it into the monster world, right? It's the same thing with this. It's our world with this animal sort of theme overlaid. So it felt like a Pixar movie. DCA is so Pixar-fied. As Zootopia just feels like a natural fit there. So I'm pretty sure it'll be DCA. It's a matter of when and where. It won't be the next 5 years. We know that because we know the next 5 years. But now, speaking of the next 5 years, though, when do you guys think, George, I'll start with you. When do you think they're going to actually give us the word on where Pandora is fucking going?
So it's funny. Like, I keep on wanting to tell myself and convince myself that it's going to be soon. I just feel like for the time that my thing was when Iger first made the announcement on the quarterly earnings call, I feel like in a way he wasn't prepared to make that announcement, so to speak. I feel like that really wasn't the real time. I felt like it was a time where he was just coming back. He had to get people back into like the way of saying, you know, okay, we've been going through the shithole, you know, here's a big piece of announcement. And I feel like after that quarterly earnings, he's like, oh shit, okay, Imagineers, you need to get me a piece of concept art. So we got the first piece of concept art, and then it's like, okay, that's just a rough one. Now I need one for D23. So I feel like they were going to do Pandora, but I feel like it kind of got mentioned a little bit too early than what they were anticipating. So I feel like that they're on track, but it seems longer to us because it was announced before it was even supposed to, because I think with Fire and Ash coming out at the end of 2025, and they're heavily saying that this land is going to be based off of Way of Water, Fire and Ash, the other two after it. With us not even knowing about what is even in Fire and Ash, they did release a piece of a figure on social media of one of the fire Navi for Fire and Ash. They're like in their like fire robe or what have you.
Firebenders.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
look at this nerd.
Yes. But that's it. That's all we still know about Fire and Ash. And I feel like they won't release any kind of extra detail until the movie comes out, because we don't even know anything about the movie. So we're not going to know anything about the land before the movie. And in order for them to give us extra detail, I feel like we wouldn't even know the location. So I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I would love to know just the location. I'd be settled on that. I don't need to know details, but I feel like Disney is waiting to give us everything at once. So I could honestly say it would either come after the fact, Fire and Ash come out. So I'm thinking possibly at the end of 2025, beginning of 2026.
Wow. Do you think it's possible that we get maybe we get some news on it, like, because Destination D23, right? Destination D is in August.
Correct.
Right? So it's in August. The movie comes out this year in December. Fire and Ash, right?
I believe so. It's December, yeah.
So by the time Destination D comes out, we might have a trailer by then. We probably would. So there's a possibility that maybe in that trailer there's some cues or some hints.
That's a possibility.
You know?
Yeah, if we get a trailer, if we get any kind of info of what Fire and Ash is, or like explicit detail that proclaims to the land. So if they add whatever is going to be incorporated in the land into the trailer, then yeah, there is a possibility they may announce it for Destination D23.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure there will be, because if they haven't, like
come up here a little bit.
A little bit closer.
Yeah, a little bit closer, brother.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure they will incorporate these next, like the Fire and Ash, because already, right, they have till basically 2030 to get like this park up, right? Because all the announcements from D23, all this is going to be done by the 5 years, right?
Right.
So, okay, Kid Daddy Josh, you gave us a 5 year, 5 year time span, right? So right now that's 2030. So I'm positive that James Cameron will probably want to do like a Fire and Ash, because if you look at the current concept we have, right, it looks very way of water, but there has to be something else in there in terms of like another attraction where it could include like an show building that's Fire and Ash or something maybe. But however, I do want to go off this though. So speaking of attractions and whatnot, what about the talk of keeping up audio animatronics or just special effects in these attractions, right? Because the cannons on Rise of Resistance just got fixed.
After like 2 years.
2 years is a long time, right? So, and then now Tiana's has been having problems.
Yeah.
Apparently it's back up. So going forward with all these high tech and audio animatronics, is Disney going to be able to keep up the maintenance on all these things?
I hope so. And here's the thing too. Disney talks a good game, right? About representation. Representation. Okay. So you retheme Splash Mountain to Tiana's. Cool. I love Tiana's. I think it's a fantastic attraction. But you have to, it's not just enough to have the representation. I think you have to do right by that community as well with how you present the attraction. It's not great to have this attraction down and breaking all the time, to have the animatronics not working. The representation is awesome, and I love it. I think it's beautiful. But you don't do that community any service when you're not maintaining the attraction and it's in terrible shape. Come on, Disney, you can do better. You know what I'm saying? You should do better. So, and Webber, you brought up a great point about the animatronics and stuff. That's a big part, and you guys talked about this last night. It's a big part of why fans, I think, Theme Park Obsession also mentioned this about the Walt Disney animatronic coming for the 70th. We're all excited about it. But it's like, this is really worrisome, because how do you have an animatronic of the founder of the company? Really, not only is Walt Disney the founder of the Walt Disney Company, he is such a pioneer in pop culture worldwide. This man all but invented like so many different things or aspects of our modern day society. If it wasn't for Walt Disney, how popular would theme parks be nowadays? Right? If it wasn't for Walt Disney, what would an animated feature look like nowadays? There are so many elements to this man and what he did, and we're still feeling the impact. So this is a gigantic man, like a legendary human being, 1 in a billion, right? And you're going to have him on that stage in animatronic form, which could be an incredible tear-inducing moment. But you cannot have this man malfunctioning on that stage. To have the founder, Walt Disney, sit there and like, it would just be such a bad show. It would be so bad. It would be such a bad show. They have got to stay on this. I know the Imagineers are very passionate. Okay. And I'm sure they have the same concerns that we all do, but please, Imagineering, just try they really need to get this right. If the thing isn't work, if it's not working, shut the attraction down. We can't have good enough
because the family's involved now too.
Right.
Because, they had a say-so in like what the audio animatronic is going to say. They want it to be real audio footage from Walt himself, not AI, you know. And then there's also, we talked about it too, the like, how are they going to maintain the quality of the audio? You know, is it going to kind of have like that static sound where it sounds old, like outdated because it happened so long ago? Or are they going to kind of freshen up the auto tune of his voice? But again, to what you were saying, OG, that it's one thing that, you know, if something is going to malfunction, which things happen all the time. But yes, being that this is Walt Disney, it's not to say it can't malfunction. It's how they handle the process when it does. If you start to see something is glitching, something is not right, don't open the show. Or if it does, immediately close the curtain. They have to have some sort of plan in motion than just like, oh, there's Walt, he's malfunctioning. Oh, what should we do? Like,
well, exactly. And then you also fuel people that don't like Disney right now. Okay. I want to make it very clear. I'm not talking shit about anybody. Okay. And I'm not talking about shit about any kind of like, people can have any opinion that they want. Right. But from Disney's perspective, okay, like, you can hate Disney. I don't really care. I mean, it doesn't really matter to me. But here's the thing, from Disney's perspective, if you get a Walt Disney animatronic up there that's malfunctioning, you are giving people that are very, you know, like critical, or like kind of like they like to trash Disney, right? You're giving them ammunition or fuel, because basically what you're doing now is you're going to give them footage of Walt Disney malfunctioning. It's going to be everywhere, Disney. Everywhere. And it's terrible PR for the company. And it just, I don't know, man. It's just not a good look. And I think Disney really, I don't think they realize the gravity of the situation. How they have to get that Walt animatronic right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
I think there's two things, at least two things I'm thinking of that they should make sure they do. One, on this, no budget cutting. Like, as much budget you can put into this, make sure you do that, because this thing has to be high quality. There's very high standards that are going into this, you know, to the show. Two, where Tiana's, where it was a lot of testing of the attraction, right, which the Imagineers do. It's different when you have high capacity on the attraction with a lot of people going boom, 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 boom. Test out the show with like max out the stadium, or like the show seating. And have group after group after group go in there and see if the animatronic can handle that repetition for, like, you know, 18 hours or whatnot. Because otherwise, when it comes for prime time, he's going to be busted, you know, if he's not like up to date or maintained properly.
Yeah, no, 100%. Now, I do want to pivot. We did receive news, and we might do another video on this, but I do want to at least mention it today. Disney is doing something that I think is fantastic. We were kind of critical just now, or not critical, but I guess cautiously critical, right? But Disney is doing something right now that I think deserves a lot of praise. And I actually might, this is why I might actually do a whole another video on it. But they're doing something called the Hero Ticket. And it's for the first responders, the heroes, the real life heroes of our fire department. And is military included in that, or is it just the fire department for the?
I thought it was military. I thought
was it all?
I thought it was just firefighters and EMS who.
Is it just first responders?
Who were first responders for the fire?
Yeah, I thought. Okay. Oh yeah, it's connected to the fire, and I mean, I don't know if for those at home, I live in LA County. And I was like this close. We were evacuated last month, right? So these men and women are absolutely heroes. I probably wouldn't have a place to live right now if it wasn't for these men and women. Okay, they were absolute heroes, and I absolutely love the fact that Disney is doing them right, and they're giving them discounts to the park so they can enjoy that with their family. They deserve this 1,000%. I mean, could not be more well deserved. And I just want to say thank you. If anyone here from the fire department, and not just from LA, we had fire men and women from Mexico, from Canada, from all over. I think from Nevada, right?
Yeah, Las
Vegas, right? Thank you all. I mean, look, I love that Disney is doing this hero thing, and I think that it's like the absolute least we can do. And I hope we see more of this. I hope other companies get on board with this, you know, because those fires were it was a huge disaster here in California. But you know what? We're coming out strong though. We're coming out strong. We're gonna get out of this. We're gonna be just fine. But it was a rough time, and heart goes out to everybody that was impacted by it and lost their home or loved ones. We're thinking of you absolutely. But yeah, the heroes of the fire departments around the world that came and helped Los Angeles during this time of need. Thank you so much. And it's awesome that I think Disney's providing this hero ticket for those families.
And honestly, even to the title of the ticket, Heroes Ticket, that's exactly what it is. Disney could have just called it, we're just giving out a special ticket, for this. Like, they're actually giving it a name.
Heroes.
And it's actually heroes to what these men and women of the first responders are. And, and it's great that they're showcasing them in that format. They're giving them a whole separate ticket to, go and, the hell that they went through, for weeks with this particular set of fires.
Yeah.
Not to mention any fires that happened before it or after it. And it's like they're constantly on call. They're ready to go. So to offer them a ticket where they can kind of just take a day and relax and chill and go to Disneyland, kudos to Disney for that.
Yeah, no, 100%. You're right, George. I mean, this was just one thing that the world saw with the fires, but these men and women put their lives on the line every single day. So I cannot thank them enough. But Mr. Webba, what are your thoughts about the hero ticket, brother?
Oh no, this is fantastic. And honestly, I was telling the boys that I wish we would see more of this from Disney and actually other theme parks, right?
Yeah.
I do know that other theme parks they do give out tickets for teachers and first responders and military. But from Disney itself, this is fantastic. I am super, super happy with this because it shows to me like this is very positive vibes from the company, appreciating our first responders and everybody else who helped with the fires, right? And I think that as a society, we should have more of that appreciation for them, because without them, our world would be in a lot of hurt. And of course, they saved this guy right here, this guy's area. But yeah, I mean, I'm very proud of Disney for doing this, and I hope that we see more of it. Actually,
100%. Actually, if those of you at home watched the Emmys, I didn't, but I watched all of Kendrick's parts. I love me some Kendrick and DJ Mustard. I absolutely love them both. But there were some first responders that showed up to the Emmys, and they got a hero's welcome for the Emmys as well when they were going down the red carpet, and it gave me goosebumps. I mean, it was crazy. Like, it's so good. These men and women are absolute heroes, and we are in their debt forever, for what they did. And I don't just mean LA. I'm telling you, I mean the Mexican firefighters, the Canadian, the Vegas, where around the world, whoever came to help us, we do appreciate you, So
absolutely. But there's a bunch of firefighters from other states, like out east, everything that came over to help. So it was just really awesome seeing a coming together moment, right? Like, there's a big crisis, everybody comes together and tries to put it out. That was fantastic. And really, on a bigger note, as a society, I wish we would do that more often,
rather than just wait for something to occur.
Exactly.
For that to be acknowledged, even though it's great. But yeah, sometimes it's nice to acknowledge someone's good deeds than wait until something tragically happens to acknowledge it.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's really great to see. So kudos to Disney on that. Absolutely. We're gonna wrap up this Disney chit chat, but great conversation from you fellas. Mission Breakout, where Pandora's going, Zootopia, the firefighters, being heroes, being honored at Disneyland. We love that. But Italiano, where can everybody find you on social media, sir?
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You can also find me on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base on Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Disney using info.
There we go. It's like a ball sack. The doctor's like, "Do you feel okay?"
Well, to be fair, I was doing this to George last night.
He was. They were getting freaky. Sorry, Abby. They were getting freaky. I had nothing to do with it. But Mr. Webba, our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, where can they find you on social media, sir? Besides in George's pants.
Yes. Oh shit. Well, you can find me popping out George's pants on Twitter, Mr. Webba at websinger760, Instagram and Threads, Mr. Webba at Cobweb91, and also you can find me here on Orange Grove 55.
There he is. There he is. Mr. Webba has 2 new shows, Web Shots, which is short form content here on the channel, and Webba Vision, long form content hosted by this man right here, and the Italiano has Citrico Central. It's an Italiano channel, whole new channel where he'll be doing in-park vlogging, sometimes with us, sometimes with Abigail, sometimes with other people. Like, so it's in-park vlogging and even just other vacation-y kind of stuff. So that's going to premiere very, very soon. And so check that out. I think you can actually subscribe now. The channel is up. So Citrico Central. Check it out. Subscribe because content is coming. Thank you all so much for watching this episode of OG55. We're going to take it out with the Queen.
Thank you for watching OG55. If you aren't already, consider becoming a member today.